tea. Can we paint with it? Let's find out. I'm gonna attempt to paint with TEAS. I've never tried to paint with TEAS before. This is all new to me, but I'm super excited to try it because TEAS, when they're steeped, come in all different colors. So I have a few different ones to try and we're gonna get right into it today. I have a matcha, which is obviously green, chamomile, which is like a yellow, earthy yellow, almost an amber color in the cup at least. And I let these cold brew steep for well over 24 hours. It was probably like 36 or more. I have an English breakfast, which is kind of like a traditional tea color. English breakfast is a black tea, so it's gonna be a little bit deeper in color. I'm gonna try to arrange these here. I have a peppermint, which is an herbal tea, and it's like almost like a deep brown green color. So I'm gonna put it right here. And then I have a green tea, which is a lighter yellow than the chamomile. And then I brewed a hibiscus tea, which is very pink. It almost looks like beet juice. So I'm really excited for this one. What I'm gonna do, I'm going to do just like a little trial of each color and then blow it dry and see what they look like on the paper straight up before I even decide what I'm gonna attempt to paint with these teas. So first, let's start with the hibiscus. I'm most excited about this. So here's the hibiscus. It's a beautiful pink color. Then I'm gonna do the green tea, which this green tea is a Chinese green. It's very pale. I don't even know if we're gonna be able to see that when it dries. The chamomile's next. It's a little bit darker in the cup, and it does have a slight yellow hint as it goes on the paper. We'll have to see also how that dries. English breakfast is next, and that gives us a really pretty, like earthy yellow. And then peppermint, which looks to be like a browner color. There's our peppermint. And our matcha, which I'm pretty pumped to see what this looks like on the paper. Now matcha is a little bit different because it actually gets mixed directly in the water. It doesn't steep like the other ones. So it has a powder, it's powdered, and it gets mixed in. So I'm not sure how it's gonna dry because it's not actually steeped the same way, but look how pretty these colors are. Oh, I am so excited. So I'm gonna dry them and then we'll see what they look like dry. And then from there, we can decide what we want to paint. So you can definitely see each tea as it dried. Although the green tea is very pale, it's still left a mark on the paper, which is cool. It's almost like a gray hint or like a grayish. So I think what I'm gonna do next is see if I can layer them a little bit darker. So I'm gonna go over a portion of each little color swatch with that same tea, and as it dries again, see if that color builds up and gets darker. Because if it does, that's a good sign. That means we can build dimension and get more depth in our painting. Okay guys, we are going to paint in the succulents that I just drew, and I chose succulents because succulents come in so many different kinds of colors, and these are very earthy toned, I guess, teas that we're working with, so I think it'll work really well. And a lot of succulents have multicolor, I guess, little sections. So this is nice because it'll allow us to use more of a variety of each of these teas. So this one here, I'm gonna keep it a little bit more traditional, I think, and do like a green with probably this peppermint. I might go in with a little bit of these colors too for the first couple washes until I get a feel for it. So, where to start? I'm just gonna start on a petal here with this chamomile. And see how they kind of blend together a little bit. So I put a little chamomile there, and I gotta really mix up this matcha, it's a little clumpy. And see how the matcha blends in. Ooh, I think this is going to work pretty well. I'm excited. So chamomile for the first little wash, and then I'm going to drop a little matcha down in the base and let that kind of wash up. And we're gonna see how those dry. I think I need a little bit more matcha on this guy. And this is going to be so beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna let them dry and I'm gonna experiment with another color combination. I think I'm going to experiment with the hibiscus and the peppermint. So the peppermint's gonna be a little bit, this is the peppermint, so it's a little bit deeper, and I'm actually gonna do this one reversed where I put the peppermint down over the entire section, and then the hibiscus is gonna get dropped in at the tip instead of at the base. And we're gonna let that kind of fade in and see how that does. Okay, I think this is going to be a success. I've been waiting to paint with TEAS. I've painted with coffee lots of different times, but TEAS are a new beast, and here we are, pretty hyped about it. Okay, so I'm gonna go back over to this one and do a couple more layers. And instead of chamomile, actually, I'm gonna go into the English breakfast and see how that looks, because it's a little bit deeper. And I might need to add in a little bit more matcha. But we can also layer and get darker as we go. So if it's not super dark off the bat, that's okay. I just want to see how these are going to dry, and then I can kind of go from there a little bit more. So I'm going to hair dry here. Now it's interesting over here, these two teas combined, which is the peppermint and the hibiscus, they almost made a slightly blue-gray color in between, which I'm really liking. So I'm just going to let that happen. And for this greener succulent, I'm going to go with the English breakfast because I like it's a little bit darker than the other ones. Now I'm going to try on here one that's green with kind of red tips. So I'm going to put the matcha down on this little section here, and then grab a little bit of hibiscus and see what magic happens there. I am pretty pumped about this. I know I keep saying that, but this is awesome. And it smells amazing. All I can smell right now is the peppermint tea. So I'm gonna go back to this one for a bit, and again, I'm using the English breakfast as kind of that first coat here. And then after I have that down on the section, I'm getting a little bit of matcha and dropping kind of in the base. Now we can go back with matcha later, like I'm showing you in this little section, and make it a little bit deeper. which is good, because then we can get lots of depth, which is what we need, so it looks somewhat realistic. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in a few of these. So I think it's turning out so well thus far. I'm really thrilled with how vibrant the colors are staying, and I'm excited to go back in and do a second coat on some of it to give it that depth and dimension that I was talking about before. I think I could get hooked on this. The tea painting is probably my favorite so far. For this last succulent, I'm going to do chamomile, which is this one. And I don't want to drop in the peppermint while the chamomile is still wet, because I think that's going to dilute it. This is the peppermint. So I'm gonna wait for the chamomile to dry, and then I'm going to just kind of brush in the peppermint as a shadow. So I'm just gonna try it on a couple sections of this succulent and then see how it goes after that. So now that the chamomile's dry, I'm gonna take some peppermint and put back in the deeper part of the sections, and then I'm gonna work on some of the other succulents while this dries, and we'll come back to it and see how it turns out. Back to this last one. I think that's really pretty, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that to the entire succulent, but then I think I'm gonna have to go back in again and add a little bit more dimension. But let's see what it looks like after I do the chamomile all over, let it dry, and then add in the peppermint for the depth. It's coming along quite well. Gonna finish this guy up, and then this one will be ready for the peppermint. So I'm just going to go into each little section and darken the pink. It'll give a little bit more separation between the sections. This hibiscus tea is so vibrant. When you paint it on, it's magenta, and then it does dry a little bit deeper, but it's so pretty. Now I'm gonna go over to here and add the peppermint in. So as that one dries, I'm gonna go back up to this one with some more green and just crisp up some of these edges. The matcha is a little bit different than the other teas in the way that it paints, because it isn't steeped like the other ones, because it's a powder that's dissolved into the water. So it has a little bit of a different flow or consistency, and the way that it dries is a little different too. I don't even want to touch this one too much. It turned out pretty awesome. I'm just gonna go into a couple spots where I do want the green to just be a little bit darker. And then back to this guy. Not really sure what to do with him. I think I'm gonna just keep trying to layer some of this peppermint right now. See how dark I can get it. I think adding a little pink in these crevices is gonna just give it the dimension that it needs. And I think I'm gonna call it a day. So here is our final tea painting. And I'm thrilled with how these succulents turned out with these 6 types of tea. I am so thrilled with the end result of the tea painting. I'm seriously blown away. I think there's so much potential for this. And to think that I only tried with 6 teas, there are so many types of teas. Who knows what other colors I could get. So I think I'm going to experiment further with this. But today's painting was a total success. This was painted with 6 teas, and here were the color swatches from before. But our succulents were a success. Yay! So can we paint with tea? We totally can. I can't wait to see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video, and enjoy the rest of your day.